Sisters!
Yes, Winnie.
Winnie, right away!
With their spellbook in hand, the Sanderson sisters became famous witches known for cruelly transforming innocents into animals, selfishly luring children from their homes, and for evilly sucking the life from the children who crossed their path.
There was the leader of the sisters, Winifred, her right-hand witch and #1 supporter, Mary, and the beautiful siren was, of course, Sarah. For 25 years, those were the only Sanderson witches we were aware of, but now the truth has been unearthed. We now know there is a 4th Sanderson sister.
Hello, I'm Isaac from Wotso Videos, where we discuss fun topics for fun people. I'm all about spreading the magic and occasionally the spooky aspects of Disney. And to do that today, I'm joined by Jon Solo in a quest to explain everything about the 4th Sanderson sister.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Jon Solo, and like Isaac, I run a channel here on YouTube where I explore my favorite aspects of the Disney universe, specifically the incredibly messed up origin stories that inspired your favorite Disney films.
I'm excited to have you on the channel today, Jon, because with the release of the novel Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel, there is a great deal of new, pretty spoilery information to discuss on the Sanderson sisters. Just a warning to all of you fun people, we will be discussing major spoilers for the all-new sequel, starting right about now.
I am really excited to be here and even more excited to talk Hocus Pocus, so let's just jump into it. After the births of Winifred, Mary, and Sarah came the youngest of the 4 Sanderson sisters, Elizabeth Sanderson. Born to the witch Drusilla the Dreadful in the town of Salem, all 4 sisters were raised to be self-obsessed monsters with powerful magic. But Elizabeth wanted to be something different. She wanted to be her own person, apart from her wicked sisters. Although she did believe they were destined for something larger than evil, Elizabeth's good nature only led Winifred to hate her, and it made Winifred feel ashamed to be a Sanderson in Elizabeth's presence.
Elizabeth admits, I didn't want to be a witch because I didn't want to turn into my sisters, greedy and selfish and hungry for blood in more ways than one. Elizabeth spent her life resisting the pull to the darkness her family was consumed by, longing to forge her own path in the world, and she eventually accomplishes this when she meets the love of her life, Jacob.
After resisting the Sanderson way her entire childhood and falling in love and marrying the Salem man Jacob, Elizabeth had truly started to establish herself as her own woman. To show that having a certain name or being in a certain family doesn't define who you are, Elizabeth even kept the Sanderson last name after marrying Jacob. She did this to show that she could exist independently despite the presumptions the Sanderson name held.
The transformation to good was a move that intrigued Elizabeth's mother, which is why, when Elizabeth married, she bestowed her daughter with the Sanderson blood moonstone. Elizabeth explained, the moonstone is the size of a chicken egg that had been passed through the Sanderson line for centuries. It was always given by a mother to the daughter she believed would use it most responsibly, for that moonstone has 2 abilities. First, if boiled in a pot of river water and herbs, it makes a broth that will grant eternal life. Second, if the stone is broken, so too is every spell cast by a Sanderson.
The moonstone was important, not only because it was tied to the blood of the Sanderson family, but it also held a massive amount of power when in the hand of a Sanderson, which is why Elizabeth knew when it came into her possession she had to hide it from her sisters. She gave the stone to her husband to look after it and requested that he never tell another living soul where he hid it, not even her.
After her marriage and the hiding of the moonstone, Elizabeth moved to a small cottage on the edge of town with her husband and soon had a daughter named Ismay. With the witch trials of Salem looming over her, she hid within her cottage and became afraid to be herself. By becoming a baker, Elizabeth attempted to become what she thought everyone wanted her to be, for fear if she revealed too much about herself and her family, she would face persecution as a witch, similarly to what would soon occur to her sisters.
On one seemingly normal morning in Salem, Elizabeth woke up early to bake a pie when she suddenly heard the sound of pretty music and the giggling of one Emily Binks. Emily came to Elizabeth's window explaining that she was following the music, and Elizabeth warned her not to follow it. But after turning away for a moment to check on her burning pie, Emily was gone.
Of course, poor Emily Binks was being lured by the evil Sanderson sisters to their own home, to remove her soul to revive their youth. Emily's human life was over that day, along with that of her brother Thackeray, who was turned into a cat during his attempted rescue of his sister. But the Sanderson sisters were not going to be able to escape their evil doings this time. With an angry mob led by Thackeray and Emily's father present at the sisters' home, and with no sign of either child, the evil Sanderson sisters were hung that same day.
With the death of Winifred, the spellbook was subsequently passed to the next Sanderson in line, who was of course Elizabeth. This is why in the novel, Allison and Max see her name as the final owner of the spellbook. Using this book, Elizabeth took it upon herself to attempt to revive the girl, for she blamed herself. She stated, "I could have saved her and saved Thackeray too. If I had just stood up to my sisters, I could have driven them from town and no one in Salem would have been hurt. I felt a tremendous guilt, and it was easier to sit with that guilt and hide than to defend myself."
But when Elizabeth attempted to bring back Emily, Winifred's spellbook betrayed her and summoned a mob to come after her next. Elizabeth recounts, "I knew the town would come for me and my family next, so I prepared everything for a hasty exit. We nearly made it too, but as my husband Jacob and I made to leave, they came for us with pitchforks and torches. I only just bought Jacob and our daughter Ismay enough time to escape to the woods. I never saw them or the Moonstone again."
On November 5th, 1693, in Salem, Massachusetts, Elizabeth spoke her final words. She stated, "I accept my fate, though you know not why. You, all of you, despise me for things you believe me to have done, yet I know the greatest mark upon my soul was doing nothing at all." Even during her final moments here on Earth as a living, breathing person, she felt the extreme guilt for never having confronted her sisters. After saying these words, she was hanged, but 325 years later, she would get the chance to assist in ending her sister's evil.
On Halloween night, 25 years after the Sanderson sisters first returned to the land of the living, Poppy, daughter of Max and Allison Dennison, along with her friends, Travis and Isabella, communicate with the Sandersons using a spirit board and are convinced by the witches to recite a spell capable of swapping the souls of the dead with the souls of the living. In an instant, Max, Allison, and Danny are sent to hell, leaving Winifred, Sarah, and Mary able to roam the earth again.
Now, the reason the spell worked is, it turns out, Isabella's 8th great-grandmother was born in Salem and related to Elizabeth Sanderson, making her a Sanderson witch. With the spell coming to fruition and her sister's reign of evil returning once more, Elizabeth is summoned to Earth as a ghost to assist her descendant and the rest of the children's quest to stop the Sandersons. Elizabeth realizes when one's purpose is incomplete, work left undone has a way of keeping the dead around to serve the living. Perhaps you're my purpose.
This time the Sanderson sisters are after the Blood Moonstone to transform them into immortal beings. At the same time though, Elizabeth explains the only way to stop Winifred, Mary, and Sarah is to destroy the Blood Moonstone, since its removal from the world would in turn undo the children's spell and stop the witches.
Elizabeth teaches them the spell that's not in Winifred's spellbook that leads them right to the Moonstone. After finding it, they take it to the lighthouse on the bay so the blast from the stone's destruction won't hurt anyone in Salem. When they arrive at the lighthouse, Elizabeth and the children are attacked by the Sanderson sisters and a variety of other witches they brought back from the dead using the soul exchange spell. They even use it to bring back their mother, Drusilla.
Now, Winifred was fairly pleased she had returned their mother to the mortal realm so they could rule Salem and the world together, but Drusilla wouldn't have it. Their mother really only wants to keep herself immortal. She only desires to rule on her own. It turned out Drusilla never really cared about any of them, and the only reason she gave the Moonstone to Elizabeth is because she knew she would never use it or give it to the rest of her daughters.
Luckily, though, Isabella used her lightning magic to destroy the Blood Moonstone before any of the Sanderson sisters had a chance to permanently rule the world, sending all the witches back to hell and returning all the innocent citizens back to Earth. With her family at bay, Elizabeth's purpose was finally complete. Before she faded away, she expressed her support for Isabella, believing her to be capable of becoming a strong and morally sound witch in the future.
Elizabeth was a Sanderson unlike any that had come before. Unlike Winifred, Mary, and Sarah, and their mother Drusilla, Elizabeth established a loving family, possessed morality, and a kind nature. And although she began as timid, she was willing to take action to remedy the mistakes of her family when it counted the most. Elizabeth may have been the fourth Sanderson sister, but she was no evil witch. She was a hero. Thank you so much for watching, fun people, and thank you to Jon for helping me out in this video.
No problem, Isaac, and thank you for having me. You know how much I love the darker aspects of Disney, and I had no idea the Hocus Pocus lore had so much depth. It was a blast getting to break it down with ya.
To see crazy and shocking revelations on Disney films, definitely check out his messed up origin series, including his newest video on Sleepy Hollow, which I got to be a part of. That of course will be linked above and in the description. So now it's time for the question of the day, sponsored by my patrons. Who is your favorite Sanderson sister? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, along with any other ideas you have for future Discovering Disney episodes. If you enjoyed discussing the Sanderson sisters, then click that like button. And if you're interested in staying up to date with more magical Hocus Pocus videos, then click that subscribe button, and please follow John and I on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you'd like to see more Wotso videos or my Jon Solo collaboration, then check out those awesome pics over here. And as always, thanks for watching and have a magical day.